Chapter 59 of the Dao De Jing. Dao De Jing, pronounced Dao De Jing, is a short passage about what makes anything last. It opens with a line that sounds like advice for rulers, but the word at the center of it pulls everything wider than governance. The passage in Chinese with approximate pronunciation for the ear. Zhai Rain Shi Qian Mo Uoc, Fu Wei Si, Shi Wai Zhao Fu Wai Zhai Chóng Jai De Zai Wu Bu Ki Zai Mo Zhai Kai Jai. Mo Zhai Kai Jai, Ki Yi Yu Guo Zhai Mu, Ki Yi Chang Ju, Shi Wai Shen Zhen Gu Dai, Chong Shen Ju Shi Zhai Dao. In English, in governing people and serving heaven, nothing surpasses restraint. Only through restraint does one achieve early accord. Early accord is what is called the deep accumulation of virtue. With deep accumulation of virtue, nothing is beyond overcoming. When nothing is beyond overcoming, no one knows its limit. When no one knows its limit, one can hold a state. Having the mother of the state, one can endure. This is called deep roots, firm foundation, the way of long life and enduring sight. The pivot of this chapter is a single character, Chinese letter, pronounced C, something like sa. It doesn't translate cleanly. It means restraint, frugality, conservation. The ancient image behind it is agricultural, a farmer who doesn't spend all the grain, who keeps seed in reserve, who doesn't exhaust the soil in a single season. Some translators render it as moderation, others as economy, others as husbandry. None of those quite captures it. What Chinese letter is not stinginess, hoarding, or passivity. It's closer to the instinct of someone who understands that what they have is finite, and that spending it wisely now means having it, and more. Later, the chapter's argument moves in a chain. Restraint leads to what the text calls Chinese letter, Zhao Fu, early accord, or getting ahead of things. This is the difference between someone who addresses a small problem before it grows and someone who is always responding to the crisis it became. Restraint gives you timing. You're not depleted when things shift. From early accord comes Chinese letter, Chóng Jai De, the deep accumulation of Chinese letter, da, pronounced da, rhyming with the. Da is one of the great words in the Taoist vocabulary. It isn't moral virtue in a narrow sense. It's more like the inherent capacity that comes from being aligned with how things actually work. A tree has da in its roots, a river has da in its course. You accumulate da not by striving but by not dissipating what you have. With enough accumulated da, the text says, nothing is beyond overcoming. And when nothing is beyond overcoming, no one can perceive your limit. That's an unusual claim. Not that you become invincible, but that you become immeasurable. The limit isn't removed. It recedes past what anyone can see. A river fed by deep springs doesn't appear to run dry. Then comes the governing of a state. In the Taoist frame, having a state means holding any complex system together, keeping it coherent, keeping it alive. And the chapter says this is possible only if you have the mother of the state, the root, the source, the generative principle that keeps producing. A ruler who exhausts the people has cut off the source. One who conserves it can last. The chapter closes with the image that carries all of this. Chinese letter, Shēn Zhen Gu Dai, deep roots, firm foundation, and Chinese letter, Chong Shen Jiu Shi, long life, enduring sight. Enduring sight is the phrase worth slowing down on. Not just that you survive, that you keep seeing. You remain capable of perceiving what's in front of you. The thing that destroys perception is depletion. When you're exhausted, you stop noticing. The argument in this chapter is that restraint is what preserves the capacity to see. What might someone carry from this today? Not a program, but a question. What are you spending that you shouldn't be? That applies to time, attention, the goodwill of the people around you, the soil you grow things in. There's a version of ambition that works by extraction. Take as much as possible, as fast as possible, and move on. This chapter is suspicious of that version, not because it's immoral, but because it doesn't last. Deep roots aren't built by burning through. The harder version of Chinese letter is applying it when you don't have to, when there's plenty, when the year is good, when you could spend freely, and you still hold a little in reserve, not out of fear, but out of understanding how things compound. The chapter doesn't moralize about this. It presents it as simple observation. What endures is what conserves its root. Deep roots, firm foundation, long life and enduring sight. That is where chapter 59 rests. The next chapter, 60, opens with one of the most memorable lines in the Dao De Jing. Governing a large state is like cooking a small fish.